Former President Trump will be in Detroit this afternoon and evening. President Biden in Detroit last month. Joining us live to talk more about the campaign is Dave Dulio, a political science professor and director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University. Good morning, Dave. And what do you think? Do these types of campaign events help at this point or hurt?
Well, good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me. The campaign events that we're seeing from both major party candidates are designed really to engage their base voters at this point in the campaign. In the rallies that President Trump is famous for really generates enthusiasm among a big swath of Republican voters, and this one is probably no different. And you make an excellent point that Michigan is this key state. It is it's one that could make the difference in who becomes the next president of the United States, and both candidates know that, and they are going to be here expending resources, both time and money, for the next 5 months.
Well, I don't know if this is an out-of-the-box thinking or if it's something else, but former President Trump is going to be at a Detroit church to campaign. It doesn't seem like a usual stop. Isn't Detroit a heavy Democrat city? And certainly the churches have, at least as far as I remember, been supportive of Democrats.
Certainly, and this is this is an unusual campaign for so many reasons. And maybe this is just another one to add to the list, but I would say a couple things about it. Donald Trump in 2020 got more votes out of the city of Detroit than he got in 2016, and all of the recent polling demonstrates that his standing among the African American community is going up, and I think that it's a chance to try to make his case to a community that might be willing to listen to a different message, and only time will tell if it works.
Well, being in news, I've always said, Sunday mornings the church parking lots are full. That's where we need to be because that's where the people are. But that's not a traditional thinking. But it does seem like a small niche audience. Are they going after smaller numbers? Because it's not a broad swath here.
Well, I think that, the impact of this particular visit is probably more felt, more important in the earned media that it's getting, right? I mean, you and I are talking about it. There will be a number of news stories about it over the next couple of days, and that's really where it can reach a wide audience. You pick, as you mentioned, maybe a niche audience, but one that's, as you also mentioned, maybe outside of the box, and that garners attention, which is really valuable these days.
The issue of immigration, obviously, up front and center. Abortion seems to be a big one, and having no race in the horse, you tell me. I mean, is that really a topic that people vote on? Are there one topic, just abortion?
Well, that's a really interesting question. There is some recent data that's come out of public opinion data that demonstrates that there are single-issue voters on this topic, and that they are increasingly motivated to use it as their deciding factor in who to cast a ballot for. But I would counter that by saying, the issue of abortion is not in the top probably 4 or 5 issues when you look nationally among all voters. I mean, it's the economy broken down into multiple subjects, including inflation is at the top of that list, as well as the issue of immigration that you mentioned.
Are we missing some of the big ones that maybe aren't at the top? Like, I don't know, is the environment still the hot topic or a hot topic? We should be careful. I should be careful not to paint with a broad brush, right? And certainly, let's go back to the abortion issue. That is one where that is very, very motivating for certain segments of the electorate, certainly on the Democratic side, right? That will be a motivating issue for them to turn out and vote. And the environment is probably that for others. But again, when we look at at the main issues, the most important problem that the most people think is facing the country. It's economy and immigration for a plurality of voters.
All right, Dave, I always think that we're way ahead of the game here because November seems like a long way out, but I know I blink and it'll be here. What's your take so far? Because right now we're even. Is that a good indication, or is this way too early to say that matters?
Well, normally I would say that it's too early. However, the polling on this race has been incredibly consistent for months, with Donald Trump having a slight lead over Joe Biden. And, what's really fascinating to me is that in the wake of the guilty verdict for President Trump in recent weeks, those numbers haven't budged. It is still an incredibly consistent sort of evaluation from the voting public that it's going to be close nationally, and it's going to be razor thin here in Michigan.
Are you as stunned by the lack of movement on this subject on the verdicts here? And I'm referring to, of course, Hunter Biden's verdict, not necessarily Joe Biden's. But, think back to Nixon. Could you imagine Kennedy coming through this?
I think the Hunter Biden verdict is less important than the Trump verdict. And it's again, right, what a unique situation where we're talking about guilty verdicts that are impacting both candidates. But I think the Hunter Biden verdict is just much more of a distraction for the Biden campaign than anything. I am surprised on the one hand, right, that a guilty verdict passed down for one of the two major party candidates hasn't seemed to shift anything in this race. Yet, on the other hand, it's Donald Trump, and his support and his supporters are incredibly loyal. And that level of support hasn't changed in probably 8 years.
Dave, every election's one for the record books. This one, we got some time, but I think we're going to be talking about one for the record books for about 8 months now coming up.
You can count on it.
All right, Dave Giulio, political science professor, director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University. Thanks so much. Happy Father's Day if it applies, and if not, enjoy the weather.
Thanks, Mike. Same to you.
Thanks. WWJ News Time.